Harry?
Your neighbor.
Yes, Harry. So let's get your thoughts on those, and then we can move on to something else.
Sure.
Yeah, give
You
me
see,
give me your thought.
well, the thing about it in a neighbor, right, is as a nation that is looking to go forward, we have to be able to put things into different categories, right? Organize, because you don't just organize your life as an individual. We have to organize and have a sequence as to how we handle issues that affects the nation. You have to have those that are important but not urgent. Those that are urgent and important becomes priority. Those that have a ripple effect throughout society compared to those that may be classified as lesser than. They
Yes,
have relevance, they do have importance, but they aren't the main. If I want to put it into a meal, it's not the main course, right?
yes,
Because the main course of something, neighbor, is what gets you there. It is what is the focus and the vocal point. And if you focus on appetizers and starters, then you miss the bigger picture. You miss the real experience. And context for this is you miss the opportunity to set frameworks right, to let the issue that's affecting the country at a greater scale, you let it off the hook, right? And as such, you have now lost the opportunity to set the record straight, to make, I don't want to say make an example, but for lack of better terminology, to make an example as to what we don't want in our governing society, right? And to also see our laws and the constitution and all those factors come together, work once and for all. Once they're tested, it is one in which gives the people confidence in the government as well, in the framework that is a part of our democratic process, right? And that is a trust you want the people to have in you. In fact, it builds the credibility of not just the government and the institutions governing it, but also the media, right? To see what they put forward and how serious they take the people of Jamaica when it comes on to the hunger for real information, how much they need to be in the know, and very much how this shapes the society going forward. This is not one in which you let a potential scandal at its highest let go. You don't treat it like those that were treated before. Because understand this, and one of the main points of it is that if this is exactly as how we think it is, coercion, corruption, tax evasion, and so on, if that is what it comes down to actually be, then understand this, neighbor. By the declaration by Mr. Gordon that this has been happening for 20 years means we have to now start digging up the system for the last 2 decades and set it right. Because it simply means there are leakages, there are loopholes, there are backdoors when it comes on to our system. And while a system cannot be foolproof or perfect, you would be damned to not try. It is best to aim for perfection and get close to it. Functionality, one that we will always be building over when it comes on to the system and get it to improve. But it simply means for us to be taken seriously, going to the next stage, this is one that I would classify as a stepping stone. If we handle it right and the result comes out where we take the necessary measures and execute the necessary penalties that are there, it means we have more confidence in the system and it's one that can help us go forward. But if we just leave it by the wayside and have a laissez-faire approach to it because anything can derail our attention span, then we won't truly execute and we won't truly advance ourselves to the next level. Because when you look at going to, person said they want to go to a first world state neighbor, frameworks like this has to be tested and has to be holding true. And we are a part of that framework because we put those individuals there, right? Whether it won't be the member of parliament and those in government and handlers of the governance of our country. This is those persons handling our responsibilities. And we want to know that they have our best interests at heart. But in doing so, we have a duty to each other and to ourselves to ensure that we apply the pressure where the pressure requires. There's a pressure bust pipe. We have to test the capacity that these pipes, these frameworks that we have, how much they can hold before they break. So we know next time to when we're building, because this is an opportunity for us that are building forward and building better. It is not the physical infrastructure alone we're building. We have to iron out these things. We have to eradicate these things because we will not see ourselves move up further from number 44 on the corruption scale. And that is a metric in which we need to advance ourselves in to be also taken seriously by the rest of the world. This is not a situation that is just regional and Jamaica alone, The world is looking at how we handle this situation, right? And it has a lot of bearing because put it into perspective, neighbor. We are looking to get $6.7 billion in terms of a package to help us with our recovery and so on over the next few years, right? How does it look to the donors and to the persons, the lending institutions, when they see us taking our eyes off this issue? Because this can impact the perception of that as well. So it is not an issue that happens in isolation whatsoever. Everything is interconnecting and we have to treat it as such. There's a saying that goes, you are as strong as your weakest link. This is a weak link in our framework. And you have to treat it with utmost importance. You can't, every little thing you turn your head. No. There's also another saying, neighbor, that goes, lions don't look when dogs bark. Jamaican people, we are the lions right now. Keep your eyes on what is the most important thing. Everything else, dogs barking are naysayers, are distractions. Just so if you take your eyes off it, you may lose the true focus as to what you were there for. And as such, you stay steadfast. You lock in. And you give this the attention, you give it the energy, you give it the time that it commands. You can't approach this half-heartedly. This is a legislator in our parliament, right? Up against the one of the biggest, well, if not the biggest hospital in the region. This is a regional hospital, right? Some may say public-private to a great extent. This impacts what our people get when they visit.
Yeah.
What they're being robbed of. And you can't take your eyes off that.
Yeah. So Harry, let us it's 8 minutes after 8 o'clock. Let us take a little bit of a deep dive into this Japden matter. Because when we talk about the Japden story, we are not talking about rumor or speculation. We are talking about a governance issue that is rooted in how public systems are used and sometimes misused in Jamaica. At the center of the matter, Harry, is a finding linked to the University Hospital of the West Indies and its tax-exempt status arrangement, which was intended to support public health services and institutional development. And within that framework, questions have now emerged about how a private company, Harry, benefited from that exemption, including Jack Den. No, Harry, if that is not a very serious matter, that from the institutional arrangement set up by the government of Jamaica to act on its behalf.
The thing about it, neighbor, right? We have to look, but people need to look at the fact that this help determines one of our health. And in essence, let me paint the bigger picture. In essence, if this has been happening for 20 years, as Mr. Gordon says, then it simply means we have lost millions of taxpayers. It should have been taxpayers, Jamaican money, right?
So we're not talking about $10 million here.
No, we're talking about 2 decades of hands going into the kitty, basically. Resources that should have been unlocked. Remember, neighbor, there's no amount of money you can spend currently in Jamaica to revolutionize the health sector just yet. Because it is one in which always need money. When budget read, health always need money. Apart from the part when Mama P did say, they found money.
I want you to double down on that point, Harry. Because many people think that this is just a $10 million. First of all, it is not that is not the only company. Do we know the name?
I'm gonna pull them up.
Well, listeners, it is about to get a little bit more interesting here, because you wonder who are the owners of those other 2 companies. And I
out of 3 neighbor. And the companies are not, and I'm going to repeat it specifically, they aren't. So this, and I'm killing a narrative here.
Okay, yes.
These are private citizens, entrepreneurs, and so on. So for the narrative that people are trying to weave into it, to score political points, to say those persons, head of boards and management, are affiliated with government people. No. There's no proof of that. And until you can provide the proof of it, then that is a stance. It is not the same as what is happening with the Jack Den situation. So let's not fool ourselves and trying to distract, because that is also another distraction tactics being used, neighbor. I've heard it several times.
Yes.
But let's put that to bed. The only confirmed member of parliament and political representative and any one of our governance structure is that of Mr. Dennis Gordon, who is the principal of Jack Den Group of companies.
And don't you think that, by the way, the Auditor General report, did it name the companies?
It did name them, neighbor. Actually pulling them up to get them.
Uh-huh. So the parliamentarians have those companies' names
They do.
and get the directors of those companies.
Yes, neighbor. So the other three are Supreme Laundry Services, Willman Sales.
Correct. And those are not companies owned or operated by any other parliamentarian. Those other two companies would have benefited from the taxes exemption scandal.
And scientific medical services. So all four of them, including Jack Den, would have benefited from it.
But the other amounts?
Well, I think if memory serves me well, it comes up to 23 million or 23 points.
But that is just what the Auditor General picked up.
For this report, right? And by the admission would have been for, let me see if I see it here. I had on this laptop with me, but it's one in which would have been for, I believe, 2024, 20. Yes, that's what I'm seeing here. And the thing about it, in a neighbor, a board individual, the only principal or director that has come out and said anything and give ground break. No, 20 years, neighbor. 20. Right?
Yes.
That for companies. From then to now, they just were not picked up in this report. Right? Span into tens of millions over that 20-year period. Right? And that is why this is the story.
All right. So hold on there, because the Gleaner Israel Ethics Committee is summoning Dennis Gordon because the Jack Den related controversy has moved from being just a media or audit discussion to a formal question of parliamentary ethics, conduct, and possible conflict of interest. Okay? So the Ethics Committee of Parliament has summoned Dennis Gordon to appear before it. His role in the Parliament triggers scrutiny because Dennis Gordon is not just a private figure in this matter. He is a sitting member of Parliament and a member of parliamentary committees. And that matters because MPs are bound by rules on conflict of interest, requirements for full disclosure, standards of public integrity and transparency. So once a company or entity linked to him or under scrutiny involving him appears in an Auditor General type issue, it becomes a parliamentary ethics matter, not just a political one. The story is deepening here, Harry.
It is, neighbor, and let me add some some petrol. I know oil is very expensive now. But for
Yes.
persons who don't know, there's an ongoing case between Jack Den Group of companies and the Southeast Regional Health Authority and the Attorney General of Jamaica. That's an ongoing case where this was heard in May and June. So anybody want the document, I'll send it to your neighbor and you can send them. This is in the Supreme Court of Judicature of Jamaica in the Commercial Division, right? Now, I'm going to give it the claim. Let me give the claim number because I want persons come for this. Claim number, S as in Sam, U as in umbrella, 2023, C as in cat, D as in domino, 00577, right? Where Jack Den is suing Surha and the Attorney General for the what they call inter alia damages in sum of $2,266,626,188.64, claiming that their damages for breach of contract. So clearly, Jack Den Group of companies is no stranger to issues with government institutions, right? So let's not fool ourselves regarding this. Now, the thing about it, neighbor, we aren't sure, because this is the case from 2024 to present. We aren't sure of the other 18 years who are the other companies that may, by the claim of Mr. Gordon that is happening for 20 years, we're not sure who those companies may have been. And what this does, open up the doors for those who are in government overall. It doesn't matter if you're J, it doesn't matter if you're P, right? And that let us know that, listen, this has been happening for such a while, which means Jamaican people have been robbed of resources by currently the very people that should have been offering these resources, right? And that span across 2 decades, neighbor. Unless Mr. Gordon wants to pull his piece from the media and to say, or to correct himself and to say it's a lesser time. But as it stands, by his admission, 20 years. Think about it. How many things have been brought in the country with this status that
Yes.
should not be for them?
Let's
Right?
go back to the before you move on, Harry, because this is what's happening now. The Ethics Committee of Parliament is raising some red flags. The controversy centers on allegations that, listen to this, tax exemptions intended for public benefit may have been used in a way that benefited private entities. Jack Den, including Jack Den. Even though no court finding of wrongdoing has been made as of now, some funds were reportedly repaid. Some of the funds were reportedly repaid after the issue surfaced. In other words, we don't know how much money Jack Den would have benefited from. The Ethics Committee is concerned with whether standards were breached, not only whether laws were broken. Can you check for me, moderator? Who are the people that make up the Ethics Committee in Parliament? Can you check that for me, please? The Ethics Committee's role is different from a criminal court or auditor because it asks questions like, was there improper influence or benefit? Was there full disclosure by the MP? In other words, should Mr. Gordon have been doing business with the UHW, yeah, the University Hospital of the West Indies? Did he disclose it when he decided to become a member of parliament? Yes? So even if something is technically legal, it can still be ethically problematic in the parliament. And so Mr. Gordon is being summoned because his name is connected to the political scrutiny around the matter. And he holds a parliamentary position that requires accountability, and the committee likely wants him to clarify his involvement, knowledge, and any disclosures made. In simple terms, Marlene Malahou Fort, former resident magistrate, former minister of legal and constitutional affairs, member of parliament, she chairs the ethics committee. Other members of the ethics committee include Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, Frank Witter, Anthony Hilton, and Andrea Perkis of the PNP. Wow. The bottom line here is that Gordon is a public office holder, and the parliament wants to test his ethics. So then, Harry, when we talk about $10 million, we may just be scratching the surface, huh?
Of course, neighbor. And you know, to add to it, neighbor, even with the current situation, it is not just $10.1 million from Jack Denning, neighbor. Because the other part to it is that these same machineries, right, and other services that they benefit from with the tax exemption, they then sell these equipments and or services, many a times ranging from 3 to 5 times back to the university. So if, let's say for example, if they bring in a dialysis, they pay $1.2 million for a dialysis after the tax exemption. They then sell it back to the University Hospital of the West Indies for $5 and $6 million. And this is a story that people don't want to get the airtime. So it is not just having a hand in the government coffers, the people's coffers. It is also utilizing another way of taking away resources. So you're double dipping in essence, right? And that is, for me, neighbor, is something that I always say it should be treated with extreme prejudice. You don't let these situations go easily. None whatsoever. And to add to it, one of the things that govern the tax exemption, neighbor, is that anything, and I want people to understand and follow this closely, if the dialysis machines comes in and they are for the university, they don't have to physically be at the university. But you know what has to happen, neighbor? The governing thing about it is that these equipments and or services has to be solely, keyword is solely, used and benefits the University Hospital of West Indies. So even if we put it up a Moko, neighbor, right? I have one little clinic up there. that machine has to be used solely by and for the University Hospital of West Indies. And that is something Mr. Gordon cannot deny.
These things weren't used for the University of the West Indies. They're solely for Jack Den Group. Before Mark Golding and his surrogates run come and talk about how we're doing, it is 50% of market price. That holds no water. Go one side with that.
Right? That is something you can't utilize to justify or absolve the situation. And we have to put this to the test, neighbor. We have to give it the proper beating stick.
Yeah.
You know, as a boy.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
We very much, Harry, maybe just scratching the surface, because the question is, how many similar gaps exist that have not yet been seen? Is it likely that over these 20 years there may be many things happening here that we have not yet seen?
Of course, neighbor. There's a lot more to uncover and unwrap, because this is just an insight as to the possibility as to what has been happening even probably longer than 2 decades, neighbor. Right? Can you imagine this going back to as far as early 2000s by other companies, maybe not the ones here? Right? What they would have gotten away with? Because understand this, in a neighbor, something of this manner
Not
is
hearing you, Harry.
Neighbor?
No, very, very low.
Oh, you hear me a little better?
Let me see if I can put this in. Go ahead.
Yes, you're hearing me?
Yes, man, I'm hearing you.
Okay. I'm saying it is not just one where when we look at it, it can just be left to this one-off event. Because people, neighbor, when they're doing these things, it's never a one-off thing. Right? There's a level of repetition to it. Because there's a thing that I love to say. You see, criminal activities, neighbor, and persons who engage in it are like kids. They'll continue to do it and push the boundaries until they get caught. Right? And this may just be one such situation.
I'm getting a little bit of a problem here. Harry, give me 2 seconds. Let me try to correct that. Harry, go ahead.
Hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm saying it is one in which we have to treat in a very direct manner, and we have to explore every single crevices of what is happening. No stone should be left unturned because of the magnitude of this situation. And the fact that it is an indicator as to us being able to now look elsewhere in other areas, other sectors, that this may be happening. So this is an opportunity for us as a nation to deep dive, to check every single area of these and rid the system of these issues, rid the system of these parasitic actions, right? Let it be conducive to growth, expansion and development, and proper services to the people that deserve it. But as long as we have these parasitic actions, neighbor, these cronyism aspects, we can't move forward properly, because this will always be a factor tugging and drawing us back. It is dead weight that we need to shed. And to shed dead weight, neighbor, we'll probably have to feel some pain, right? Because we know at the end of the day, once we do the right thing, we will be able to be better. And we cannot have members that are elected, voted for, right, dipping their hands multiple ways and taking resources from the very people that put them there.
Fantastic.